So both sides, we are in the midst, heavy, into this long Tosus here on Daf Samach Ches Omid Beis Dibra Maskil Katan. Now the truth is, just for the record, this Tosus Katan really belongs on Daf Samach Tes, because the Gemara establishes on Daf Samach Tes that in the case of a Ger Katan, once he dies, then Iyatoy Tzorach Lachzer Ola. You know, he has possessions, and you don't have to look and search, are there any Yorshim? Because it's impossible for a child who's a Katan to father children. And therefore, the Keren and the Chomesh are given to the Kohen. And the Gemara is going to go on and analyze this issue about whether a Katan who's a Ben Tesha can father a child or not. But the important thing from Tosa's perspective is that the Katan actually owns property, he has possessions, and the issue becomes whether he has heirs to inherit those possessions. And the Gemara says there are no heirs, but there are possessions. So the clear implication, it's even more than an implication, is that the Sugya understands that the Katan is the owner of Mammon. Just that in this case, he's a Ger Katan and he has no one to inherit that Mammon. And therefore we go back to the parsha of Im Ein Lo Ish Goel, and we have the halacha of Ein Lo Yoresh. If Ein Lo Yoresh is, then no one's going to return the Gzela with an additional Chomesh, and he has to give it to the Kohen. So Tosfos asks the following question: how is it possible that a Katan would own Mammon? We have a principle called Ein Zechiyah LeKatan. A Katan is a La Bar Das, and therefore he can't be Kohen an object. And if you'll say that someone will be Kohen on his behalf, which is called Zechiyah, well, Zechiyah is mitoras shlichus, and a Katan cannot have a shliach. Now, everything that we're learning here is all Doraisa. We're not talking about the Rabbanon. So even if you'll say Yesh Zechiyah LeKatan mit Rabbanon, it's not relevant to us. We're on a Doraisa level. I'm trying to understand the pasuk of Ein Lo Ish Goel. So Tosfos has a proof from Bab Metzia, as we saw last time, that a Katan is a Lav Bar Shlichus, in the sugya of Chatzer Mishum Yada Isra Boy. And if Chatzer is a kind of extension of a person's Yad, so it operates in a quasi shlichus kind of mode, and a Katan cannot have shlichus, and therefore he cannot have a Chatzer. Can't be Kohen with his Chatzer. And now at this point, Tosfos wants to differentiate between different age levels of a Katan, as if to say that maybe a Katan is a Bar Das once he reaches a certain stage of development of maturity. So there's no say lo tzror bizarko and no say lo ego zero or notlo. So the Gemara establishes, now we're looking at a sugya in Gittin on Daf Samach Daled. Let's just underline that. And the Gemara in Gittin introduces a machlokes between Rav Yehuda Omar Rav Asi and Rav Chizda Omar Shmuel. So what's the machlokes between Rav Asi and Shmuel? According to Rav Asi, once that katan reaches a state of das, that if you give him something that's worthless, he chucks it out. If you give him something that's worthwhile, then he takes it and he puts it in a safe place. That maturity is enough for the katan to be zocher li'atzmi. But again, he's still at a pretty basic or immature level of das. And therefore, although he can be zochali atzmo, he can't be zochal acher. He can't pick up something on behalf of another person. Or for that matter, if Reuben wants to give something to Shimon, Levi, who's a child, could not serve as the go-between and be zocha in the object coming from Reuben on behalf of Shimon. Then we get to the next level of maturity, and that's called chepetz umachziro liachar shah. So it's not just that he realizes that an egos is worth something as opposed to a tzror, so he puts it away for a rainy day. But moreover, if you give him something and you ask for it back, he will return it to you. So he really understands the concept of violence, not just the value of an object, but ownership of an object. In such a case, according to Rav Asi, Zocher ben liatzmo u ben lacherim. And Tosfos is going to work hard to prove that that is even on a doraisa level. Oh, mashma dahainu midoraisa. How do I see that? Midaparech. The Gemara raises the question. Lemandi Omer. Now we're going to the second sheet, and that's Shmuel, who holds echad zeh v'echad zeh, zochel yatzim v'yein zochel acher. In other words, even though he's gotten to the maturity level where he returns your object when you ask him back for it, nevertheless, he cannot be zochel acher. Parach, and the Gemara asks, me'ahi disnan marimin al ma'aser sheni. So again, just to go over this, you have an adon, and he's looking for a way of harama to save himself the additional chomesh, the additional 20% above and beyond the value. When you're poda ma'aser sheni, because the farmer who has masses of volumes of tvua, he doesn't want to schlep them all to Yerushalayim, so he does a pidyon, but he has to add an additional 20%. That's called chomesh. So what does he do to circumvent that? He is going to transfer his tvua, the ownership of his tvua, over to a katan, let's say a shivcha, who's a katana, or to be more precise in the terminology, she's not a shivcha, she's an amavriya. Amavriya by definition is a katana, because otherwise she's yotzis b'simonim. She can't be a Nara, she has to be a Katan. And in this case, she can effectuate a pidyon on the Ma'aser Sheni on behalf of her Adon, and there's no additional fee of 20%. Now, 1 second. So now what happens? The Adon gives her money, and then she goes ahead and she's podeh Ma'aser Sheni. So I'm going to learn it this way, and I'm not sure if this is our final conclusion, but she will now give money to Ma'aser Sheni as if Ma'aser Sheni was an entity. And now she gets the payros on behalf of her Adon. So in effect, she serves as the conduit to accomplish a pidyon. So the payros now will go back to the rishus of the Adon. Until now, they belong to Ma'aser Sheni. And who effectuates that kinyan that transfers the ownership of the Ma'aser Sheni to the Adon? It's the Katan of this Amariya. So the premise is that she's already at that maturity level where if you give us something and then ask for it back, she'll return it to you. That's her developed mind. She understands. Now, how could she acquire ownership over the payros of Ma'aser Sheni through pidyon on behalf of the Adon? That must be Zochel Acherit. Hence, we have a proof to Rav Asi and Akasha on Shmuel. Okay, the Gemara answers that kasha by saying that we're talking about Truma D'Rabbanan, and the Rabbanan made a takana in Truma D'Rabbanan that a katan could have zechia. All right, fine. So now, let's go back to Rav Asi. Mashma is zochel acherim midaraisa. That according to Rav Asi, the katan who reaches that advanced stage of maturity has das and can operate on behalf of acherim, zochel acherim. And now we're talking on a deraisa level in order to effectuate a pidyon. His Tosfos says, and this is where we want to start reading, mashma dis zochel acherim midaraisa. So this Ma'arimim al Ma'aser Sheni, which is all Doraisa, is predicated on the assumption that Zochel Acherim Midaraisa. Again, for the other man, the Omer Shmuel will answer that it's Truma D'Rabbanan. But if we're in the context of Rabbi Asi, then we don't introduce Truma D'Rabbanan. We're assuming it's Truma Doraisa. And on a Doraisa level, she can effectuate this kinyan on behalf of our Adon if she's reached that level of maturity where if you give her something, she'll return it. So now we can understand that in our sugya here in Sanhedrin, we're talking about a Katan who owns Mammon, he owns possessions, and how does he do so? He's a Katan sheyesh lo das. He has the das of nosu lo mumachziro. And once he reaches that mature level, he is like a gadol, and he can acquire kinyan. And that's called, one second. So again, what we have now is a very solid reconciliation of what seems to be a contradiction. On the one hand, we started with the sugyas at the end of Basra, ein zchiyah l'katan. On the other hand, we see that there's a Madiyomar in Gittin that Tzror v'Zorko, etc., is he's considered like a bardas. So the answer is that ein zchiyah l'katan is referring to a katan who hasn't reached that minimum mature level. Once he reaches that minimum mature level, then he's considered like he has das. And in such a case, he could have zechiyah, maybe even zochel acherim, according to Rabbi Yassi. But Tosfos says, now we have a real problem. Because the Mishnah assumes that mitzias cherei shotav katan, let's put the emphasis on katan, is yesh bo mishum darkei shalom. It's only a rabbinic law. Avol midaraisa lo. So it's really interesting. When the Rabbanan were misaken a mitzias katan, as the takana that no one could take away that mitzvah from the hands of the katan because of darkei shalom, the need for such a takana only applied to a very young child who is immature. He hasn't yet developed his appreciation for what Bailis is all about. Once he gets older, then forget about darkei shalom. He could be zochel liatzmo b'deraisa. Oh, now Tosfos introduces das acheres makna osan shayni. I think I understand that Tosfos at this point is holding that even if the Katan is mature, he cannot be Zocher, because there's no Das Acheres Mach, it's Hefker. So when we said before that if he reaches the maturity of Nosnim Lo Umachziro, then he can be Zocher. That's through Das Acheres Machna. That means he's somebody is giving him something, and he acquires it. But in the case of Mitzia, which is the Gemara in Gittin on Nuntes, there's no Das Acheres Machna. He's being Zochli Atzma without the aid of the Machna. So in other words, what we're saying is that a Katan reaches a certain age level in which the Das Machna of someone else can, so to speak, fill in the blanks and complement or complete the Das that's necessary for the Kona, because the Katan himself has a certain level of Das, plus his Das Acheres Machna. And when you put the two together, you end up with a Kinyan. But in the case of Hefker, where there's no Das Acheres Machna, it's just the Katan himself is picking up the lost object. In such a case, everyone agrees that the Torah does not recognize his Kinyan, because we have no Das Machna. And therefore we need Darkei Shalom as a separate institution. Hashta Nicha Hadi Yom Rav Zera B'Perek Lulav Karava Sukkah Daf Mem Vav Beis Lo Likni Inshi Lulave Liyanuka. So the first day Yom Tov, when there's a requirement of ownership over the lulav, don't be makne your lulav to a katan. The Yanuka Mikni Kani, through Das Acheres Machna, he makes a kinyan doraisa if he reached that level of maturity that Machzirin. But Aknuye lo Makne, the Katan does not have the ability to be makne something to someone else. Because that already requires Das Machne. So when you have Das Kone on a lower ebb level, low flame, it's not complete Das Kone, then the Das Machne comes to complement and complete the Das. Fill in what's missing on the Kone side. But when the Yanuka, having acquired ownership over the lulav through Das Acheres Machna, now he wants to be Machne and return it to its owner, that he can't do. So whenever we're discussing the status of a katan in kinyanim, we're always talking about das kone. We are not talking about das maki. And a katan does not have das maki. So for das maki, we need a gadol. Got to be 13, etc., etc. One second. So are we going even according to Rav Asi, or now we're going according to Shmuel? Let me just think this out. According to Rav Asi, we said that we achieves a level of maturity, then it can be Zochel Lacheret. The Mikni Koni, Afilu Midraisa Yidei Das Ches Makno son. Zocher Midraisa Lacherim L'Rav Asi the Gittin. I don't know. At this point, is Tosas saying that there's no problem giving a lulav to a katan according to Rav Asi, because he can be maknid back to you midaraisa. Right? Look at the language of Tosas. He says, "Zocher midaraisa lacherim." The Rabbi Asi the Gittin. So I'm trying to figure out, is that what Tosas is saying here? Hashta nichale nicha hadi amar Rabbi Zera v'perek lulav bar Rav lo likni inish lulav likni nuka mikni not kani aknuye lo makni. Is mikni kani afilu midaraisa. And then it says Zocher b'deraisa le'acherim l'Rav Asi the Gittin. Li'atzmo l'kuliyam. Okay, I mean, again, if you think I'm wrong, just tell me. But I think I'm right in that Tosas is saying that the whole sugin sukkah, which inhibits you from being makne the lulav to the katan, that's a liba de Shmuel, but a liba de Rabbi Asi, zochel acher midaraisa. That's what it says in the Tosas. No, I didn't write the script. Zochel acher midaraisa. Oh, but now we have a problem. Mehad the Amrina Bereish Perik Beis the Kiddushin. Sugin Kiddushin and Beis. That in the case of Korban Pesach says Ish Lifiyachol Kachusa say Ish Zocher, the Ein Katan Zocher. So we can't give him a part of the Korban Pesach. Why not? It's Dasacheres Makne. Hainu di ein memana acher mal pischa. Tosfos reinterprets the whole sugya, and it means that the Katan owns a part of the Korban Pesach. He cannot be makne to anyone else. Hainu di ein memana acher mal pischa. So again, others can be mamana him on the Pesach. That's called Dasacheres Makne. But for him to be mamana someone else, that he can't do. Which again, it sounds like it's going against Rav Asi. So we both say, who remembers what we said last week? We said it works out even according to Rav Asi. Why is that? Anybody remember this, or your memory is as bad as mine? Huh? I was hoping. No, we worked this out last time, didn't we? That this could square even with Rav Asi. Right, because in the Inami he says it doesn't work out according to Rav Asi. So now he's working it out even according to Rav Asi. How does he do that? So in the case of Marimin ala Sheni, we said that Ruvain wants to give his Ma'aser Sheni over to Shimon through the agency of a Katan. So in that case, Ruvain's Das Acheres will be makne to Shimon. Oh, so let's say that you have X number of people who are menuyim ala korban pesach, one of whom is a katan. So the katan is now zoche through das acheres makne. Let's say a gadol bought the korban pesach, so he has in mind the whole chabur, including the katan. So as far as the katan's kinyan and his minui, it's fine because it does das acheres makne. And in that case, whatever chelik of the korban pesach that the katan has, he can share it with everybody else because the original purchase of the korban pesach, which set up das acheres makne on behalf, would operate in favor of all the other people in the group. Almost as if each one of the members of the group gives up his chelik. And the katan could do that too because it's going through the individual who bought the korban pesach. So he bought it for the sake of everyone. So even though the katan has a kinyan on this, it's not his das that will share his kinyan, his chelek with the other members of. It's the das of the original purchaser of the korban pesach. So now what's the case where ish zocha v'en katan zocha? So it's not a korban pesach that was purchased by someone else on behalf of the whole chabur, and therefore we can operate with das acheres makne, but rather it was the child as a katan who acquired the korban pesach. So let's say, for example, the father of this child had a chelek, he owned the chelek in the korban pesach, and he died. So through the laws of Yerusha, the katan inherits his father. Now, if he wants to be makne ta'cherim, he can't do so because there's no das acheres makne. And Tosfos is assuming, I think, that even Rav Asi would agree to that. Now he has an inami, and he's saying now, simply, that if he's a member of the Chabura, he can't receive his chelik and share it with someone else. Even though a gadol is being makne the katan his chelik, he didn't inherit it from his father. The katan is not capable of being makne to others, even though he got it through somebody else. The loka Rav Asi, then we're going against Rav Asi. The Tomar, the Heich Medadek the Gittin. The Katan Zochel Achirim, Midapode Maisa Sheni Lachirim, Va'afilu liatzmo lo zochim midaraisa kishein das acheres makne son. Ubechilu Maisa Sheni mi ika das acheres makne son. Ayidei zechiyas hakata. So in other words, the Katan is receiving the peros, the Tvua from Meiser Sheni, and handing it over to his Adon. And that's how the Adon obviates the Chiyuv Chomish that we spoke about before. But there's no Das Acheres Machne here. Because Meiser Sheni is not an entity, it's not a human being that could have Das. So who's being Machne to the Katan on behalf of another Gadol? Yeshlomer the Kosover Maksha, the Kemoshe Zokali Atzmo Bechil Meiser Minatora. Machmas the Mufla Samach Leish Doraisa is Kmochem the Zokal Acher Minatora. So now he's introducing a new concept called Mufla Samach Leish. What do you say about this? We're talking about Mufla Samach Leish. I guess he's talking about. I think he's talking about a case where the Katan has his own Tvua, and he was Mafresh Meiser Sheni, and he's a Mufla Samach Leish, and now he could be Poder his own Meiser Sheni. And since he can be Poder his own Meiser Sheni, therefore he could be Zochel Acher. So let me read to you this note here in the Masifti. says, "Bishleim l'man the omer debu mokom shezochel yatzlu me'atorah, zochanami lacherim." Which I assume is Rabbi Asi. Usvile the mamon hechad yesh das acheres. The zochel yatzlu yochel liskos gam lacherim osi shaper haide truma. He gave him the matzinu the mufla samach leish torem umachala liatzmo afilu below das acheres. Mochein yochel lachal acherim below das acheres. The ein chiluk ben liatzmo ol acherim. Again, I assume he's going according to Ravasi, and Ravasi says that Zochel Acherim because he's Zochel Yatzmo. So since he could be Zochel Yatzmo, he could be Zochel Nami Lacherim. I guess Rabbi Yassi is equating Das Kona with Das Machni. Avol Rav Chizda. I think he means Rav Chizda, the name of Shmuel. This spirale the yesh chiluk bein lizkos liatzma olacherim ulakach omar shebim mamon al yedei das acheres zochel liatzma v'lo lacherim. In Kain Gabachilul Maser, Afshemachali Atzmo Lo Yachal Acher. So that's Shmuel. Shmuel says, yeah, Das Acher's Machne is fine, and therefore he could be Machal Liatzmo, but he can't be Machal Acherim because that's not Das Kona, that's already Das Machne. So the Gemara is raising a kasha on Rav Chizda in the name of Shmuel from that halacha of Ein Marimin, because the implication of that Gemara is that he could be Zochel Acherim in the Chilul. And that means we're going to say that just like he could be Zochel for himself, maybe because he's a Mufla Samach Ish, he could be Zochel Acherim, and that's a raya to the Shita of Rabbi Yassi. But according to Rav Chizda in the name of Shmuel, what's going on over here? It seems like from the halachim of Marimin that there is a Zchiel Acherim and that's the end of that. So I think what we're going to do now, this is a gigantic toast, this keeps going and going. I think I'm going to need, I hope I'll get some time to do this, since I have this this schedule on Sunday with a trip and this, that, to Yerushalayim. B'li Neder, again, this is a real B'li Neder. I'm going to try to find a way of navigating through this Tosfos in a way that we can at least get the final maskana, get the final principles from this Tosfos. Okay, then? I'm going to try to find the time to do that. So let me wish you a great day. And Steve, you'll hear till Wednesday, or did I mess up? When are you leaving on Tuesday? I forget.
I'm leaving Wednesday morning, so I'll be here through
Until
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Okay, then. Have a great day. Yeah. Thank you.